Just About Sailing, March 2022, April the 1st, April Fool's Special. This is a bit of a mini documentary on helping bass players to be able to play the pianos. It's a slightly random subject. There's not been an awful lot of boat stuff. There has been some going on. Lucy's been doing some stuff, and she's been away doing her marine biology thing in a sort of exotic warm location. She also did her sea safety certificate the other day, which she thoroughly enjoyed. I recommend that to anybody who hasn't actually done it. So, first of all, why do bass players need to know about the piano? Well, two reasons is because two books. John Goldsby, one of the best bass books ever, and Rufus Reid, one of the other best bass books ever, say you should. Rufus has actually got an entire section called Getting Friendly with the Piano, so that's all we need to know. The trouble is the piano is an incredibly complex instrument and the bass is an incredibly simple one. And there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of pianos in the world, and there isn't a single documented record of anybody who can actually play one. It's just so difficult. And I've got that directly from talking to piano players. Piano players and bass players, by the way, we do get on, despite what people say. There's even some jokes. A piano player told me a joke the other day. How many bass players does it take to change a light bulb? None. The piano player does it with his left hand. Don't really get it, but anyway. Oh, I've got one though. But why do we know that Dracula was a better vampire than a piano player? Because his Bach was always worse than his bite. Yeah. Actually, Bach had something interesting to say about the piano. He said it's easy because it's just a matter of hitting the right keys at the right time and the piano does all the rest. Although how he said that, I don't know, because he said it many decades before the piano was actually invented. So anyway, we're going to cover this in detail. We need to do a little bit of musical theory. If you watch musical YouTube videos, you probably know Nick Beato and Adam Neely. They do some fantastic info YouTube videos about music theory and so on. I mean, music theory is, and I'm going to simplify it significantly and do it quite quickly, so don't worry about, oh, you've tuned out already. Basically, music theory, a lot of clever people in the past took something really complicated. You know those tunes that we sort of sing naturally in our head and we don't think twice about them? They're really, really complicated. And they turned it into something really, really easy with rules and mathematics and theorems and things like that, just to sort of clarify things. So scales. The first scale you need to know is the major scale, as in major listen to the music. That's why it's called major scale. And you know it, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It was made famous when that thing, what was it, the do, a deer, a female, you know the one.
A deer! A female deer.
Yeah, that's the one. So anyway, it's also known as the major scale is also known as the Ionian scale. The Ionian is a C between Greece and Italy, and because it's a C, we tend to start with C. So the musical alphabet starts at the letter C. C, D, E, F, G, and then they got bored and started A, B, C, D. So only it just makes life so much simpler. What can I say? Oh, do you want to actually hear what it sounds like? Come back to the bow in a second. Let's just do this. This is the C major scale, or the Ionian C scale, starting on C, D, E, F, G, easy. And bass players don't like to use the same fingers going back if they can at all help it. And you might wonder how I know where the right notes are, and I don't have to look at my fingers, etc. Well, to be honest, I don't. This is why we don't have any frets, because if you don't know where the note is, none of those are a wrong note. Now, what makes that a scale is the gap between the notes, which are called the tones between the notes. The smallest one is called a semitone rather than a tone. I don't know, and so for example, between A and B is a tone, although that's two semitones, and then between B and C that's a semitone. Between B and C is a semitone rather than C, and E and F is a semitone, but F and G is a tone. See what I mean? It's really simple the way that they've actually made this work out. So that's very simple. And then there are these things called chords. And to do a chord, all you do is you take the first letter of the scale, miss one, take the next one. So A, C, E, F, G. So C, E, G. That's a scale. And then to get a diatonic scale, if you go from D, miss one, D, F, G, oh, I've run out of fingers. But that's a minor scale, which is Dorian, Locrian, Phrygian, I can't remember. It's really simple, but it's just slipped my mind for the moment. So the diatonic scale is the root, because it's so easy to remember the numbers. We've given them numbers. So the 1, 3, and 5, and then you do another 1, 3, and 5 based on the 2, and then a 1, 3, and 5 based on the 3. So the first 1, 3, 5, I'm talking about, well, it's the fingers if you're doing the piano, but it's also the note scales are the intervals. And the first diatonic scale, that's a major scale, and then 2, and we put it with Roman numerals. We use Roman numerals just because the numbers are too complicated, it makes it easier, is a minor, and then another minor, and then is a major, and they're all in different places. So you kind of learn where your fingers do different things. Oh, but what makes it very easy, if you want to go from one string to another, the strings are tuned in fourths. So if you want to go from F to a C, is that a fourth or is that a fifth? But anyway, to go from an F to a C, and you've done this at school, it's simple. You multiply by 1.8 and add 32. And the reason you add 32, that's more of an American thing, because in America, if you have a bar of music in 4 notes, so 4 quarters make up a whole, so they call the notes quarters, and 32 would be a 32nd. Whereas in Europe, we call them crotchets rather than quarters, because I think Beethoven woke up and said, I'm feeling a bit crotchety, and then he wrote some music in 4/4, which turned out to be Roll Over Beethoven, with a really strong backbeat, which the Beatles made famous later on. And then if we want to get to a 32nd, we, rather than going quarter, half, 16th, it's quavers, hemi-semi-demi-quavers, demi-quavers, and hemi-semi-demi-quavers. So it's a lot easier than you using the sort of numbers. So, and there are other ways of actually learning. Or you have the circle of fourths and fifths, which is like a clock face. And if you go in one direction, it's fourths. But then if you go back again, it's fifths. So it's a bit like daylight saving time, where if you go in one direction, you add something, and if you go back, you do something else. Interesting marine biology fact. And by the way, because this is so easy to just sort of plug these notes, a lot of bass players like to tie a piece of horsehair to a stick. Lucy tells me that sharks, which is her specialist subject, can only hear semitones. They can't hear tones, they can't hear scales. So you can practice away unless you use semitones, in which case... Yeah, so don't try that on a boat, because that's... What else before we move over to the piano? Oh, I know. C is not an easy scale to play, actually. I'll be perfectly honest about this. So what we've done as bass players, we like to play B flat. I've very carefully put 2 squeaks in there so you could test the intervals. But because the scale starts on a C, the Ionian C, the major listen C, we've told clarinet players and saxophone players that when they play a C, it actually sounds like a B flat, which really confuses piano players, and nobody quite knows why that's done. So anyway, I'm glad I could clarify all of that. That's to say, music is just so simple, isn't it? Now the difficult bit. Let's actually go across to the Steinway, and I'll show you a great tip as to how to immediately start playing the piano with no prior knowledge. Video on. Right, so here we are. Actually, it's not a Steinway. A lot of the German piano makers, they call their pianos after the way it makes the player or the audience feel. So Steinway, Stoneway, way of the stone, sort of solid. Börsen, angry Dorfer, Börsendorfer, angry village. It's the way the villagers sort of run up the hill with the pitchforks to the person playing the piano at the top of the thing. Because of the emotion that it elicits in me when I'm playing, this to me is a Schadenfreude. So anyway, this is middle C. Ask any piano player anywhere, they'll be able to say that's middle C. That's probably all they'll say, but that's it. So middle C, Mittelmeer. Remember Mediterranean, Ionian? It all fits together. Middle C. Below there, I'm not even going to talk about that. That's bass players are prohibited from, and so are band. If you've got a bass player, you don't need that. So these keys are. I don't even know why they put them on pianos anymore, actually. It's ridiculous. These ones up here, they sound very pretty, but, how on earth do you get it? It just doesn't make sense. It literally, nobody knows how those work. But what you need, when I was younger, we used to have a budgerigar, and if he got a bit agitated, he was in a cage. Rather cruel nowadays, I know, but we used to put a dust sheet on him. So you get your dust sheet. Easier said than done sometimes. Put your dust sheet, put it on the piano. Then all of a sudden, you just got this dark expanse, just the same as a double bass. If you can find middle C, which you can because it's just there, you just go C scale. Effortless. You don't need to look, you don't need to... It's even easier when you do the chords. So we'll go up the dyadic chords in the key of C. It's just fingers 1, 3 and 5. That's C. That's D minor. It automatically does the minor for you. I haven't moved anything, I've just moved up. My fingers are still the same. See, this is how to make the piano easy. E minor, F major, G major, A minor. Nobody talks about that one. Back to C again. How simple is that? And the other thing is, because piano players have figured out, actually, because I can play any old keys, do I really need to play them in the right order? And they invented this thing called inversions. Actually, it was invented live on television. I think it was a Christmas special. It was the two late great musicians, Eric Morecambe, doing a masterclass with Andre Previn, the conductor-composer, and discovered that actually, as long as you're playing the right notes, you don't need to play them in the right order. So here we go, chord inversions. C, C, C. See where I'm going with this? See where I'm going with this? C. It's incredible. Oh, so if you're a bass player, get a cover. Everything else is fine. Right. Hopefully some proper boat stuff next month. Happy April Fool's Day, which is when this went out and when you should be watching it. So let's just switch you off and see you in April proper. Right. Nobody around. Oh, doesn't that sound nice? Practice this. Is that still on? Whoa, 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 whoa.